Welcome and good morning. Today is Wednesday, March 31st. I hereby call the Public Service Subcommittee to order. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Representatives Alexander, Jernigan, Johnson, Kiesling, Marsh, Wendell, Chairman Helton.
Here.
Chairman Helton, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Today we have 28 bills on the regular calendar and 2 addendums with 1 bill each. We are going to hear item number 16 first, House Bill 1578 by Chairman Moon. We have a proper motion and second. Mr. Chairman,
thank you, Madam Chairman.
Do you have an amendment?
Yes, I do. It's 4333.
Is there a motion and second on the amendment? Motion. Okay, Chairman, you are recognized on the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee. This bill provides for a state employee who is a veteran that has a service-connected disability of 30% or more to receive 36 hours of sick leave to go to an appointment to take care of that service-connected disability. It can't be for the annual physical. It can only be for the service-connected disability. This amendment, the bill itself allowed the time to accrue. The amendment does not. You use the 36 hours in a year, or you lose it. And the intent of the bill is that disabled veteran who is a state employee doesn't have to use their sick time or vacation time to make their VA appointments.
Any questions on the amendment? The question has been called. We are voting on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment is on the bill. Chairman, you're recognized.
The amendment makes the bill, Madam Chair Lady.
Question has been called. All those in favor of sending House Bill 1578 to state full signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Bill goes to state full.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and committee.
We are going to take up item number 26, House Bill 983 by Chairman Hazelwood. Do I have a motion and a second?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you, committee.
You're recognized on the bill.
This is a very simple bill. It simply renames the Council on Pensions and Insurance to be referred to as the Council on Pensions, which is what the body originally was. There are standing committees in both houses that delve very deeply into the insurance situation. So, again, the council will go back to its original purpose and focus solely on the pensions.
Any questions? Question has been called. All those in favor of sending House Bill 983 to state full signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Bill goes to state full.
Thank you very much.
We are back to item number 1, House Bill 347 by Chairman Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Chairman, you're recognized on the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 347 simply adds federal law enforcement officers to the current statute that already covers state, county, and municipal public employees. When we passed this bill years ago, we failed to include federal law enforcement such as FBI, Homeland Security. So this simply adds them to
Any
the statute.
questions? The question has been called. Without objection, all those in favor of sending House Bill 347 to state full signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Bill goes to state full.
Do phase next. Item 9.
Okay. We are going to take up item 9 next on the calendar. House Bill 648 by Chairman Faison. Do I have a motion? We have a motion and a second.
Thank you,
I believe
Madam
you
Chair
have
Lady.
an amendment.
We do. Amendment Code 5385.
Is there a motion and second on the amendment? We have a proper motion and second. Chairman, you're recognized on the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Committee, I did bring my local circuit court clerk to come and testify just for 3 minutes, kind of tell y'all what we're doing, why the circuit clerks are wanting to do this.
Okay.
Is that with you?
That's fine. We are now going out of session. Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. You have 3 minutes.
Good morning,
Can you
Madam.
introduce yourself and tell us who you represent?
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, Madam Chairman. My name is Kevin Poe. I represent Jefferson County as the Circuit Court Clerk. Thank you, Madam Chairman and committee members for having me. The bill today that we're looking at is to transfer original process from digital format, or excuse me, from paper format to digital record to come in line with 10.7.121, which says that all records notwithstanding any to the contrary omits original process currently.
Okay. Do we have any questions from the members? Chairman Marsh?
Do you all get along with Representative Faison up in your area? We don't really like him down here.
Did you say call the question? No. Can we take a roll call vote? Yes, we are fortunate to be represented in our area by dedicated public servants, and we absolutely appreciate him and his dedication to people.
Any other questions from the members?
Again, I'll take a roll call vote.
Mr. Poe, thank you for that explanation.
Thank you.
We are back in session. I think we are ready to vote on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Chairman, you are recognized on the bill as amended. The question has been called. All those in favor of sending House Bill 648 to state full signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Bill goes to state full. Item number 2 on the calendar is House Bill 954 by Chairman Littleton. It has been placed on the Speaker's desk. Item number 3 is House Bill 432 by Representative Lynn. We have a proper motion and second. Representative, you're recognized on the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. In July of 2020, Representative Jernigan contacted me and asked if I would be willing to provide relief to his constituent, Mason Hunter, who's here today, by bringing his parcel fully into Wilson County. I learned that Mr. Hunter's property is bisected by the Davidson County and Wilson County line. Most of his home is in Davidson County, but his driveway is in Wilson County. As a result, the family pays 2 property tax bills for their one home, one to Wilson County and one to Davidson. However, the Hunter's home is zoned for Wilson County schools. In fact, his daughter attends Wilson County's beautiful new Green Hill High School, which is just 5 minutes away. The Hunters have Wilson County water and trash pickup. Their cars are registered in Wilson County. WEMA, Wilson County Emergency Management, is the responding authority to calls at their home. In addition to the Hunters' children's schools, the family attends church in Wilson County. His son plays baseball in Wilson County, and his daughter plays volleyball. If we do bring Mr. Hunter's parcel into Wilson County, we are not creating an island, because behind Mr. Hunter's home is Army Corps of Engineers land, which borders the lake and all of the other properties in Davidson County, about which it has been, well, falsely claimed that they would be left on an island. They really would not. Before we filed this bill, we spoke to the Davidson County and Wilson County commissioners to see if they would be willing to provide relief to this homeowner by bringing his parcel fully into Wilson County. Each was willing, and on July 21st, 2020, the 45-member Davidson County Metro Council voted unanimously to ask Wilson County to take this tiny parcel fully into Wilson County and to send the lawmakers notice of their request. They did so. On August 10th, 2020, the 25-member Wilson County Commission voted unanimously to accept the parcel and to give notice to the lawmakers of their vote and to ask us to file a bill to amend the county lines to include Mr. Hunter's parcel fully in Wilson County. Mr. Hunter is here if the committee has any questions. I hope that the committee will vote today to grant relief to this Tennessee citizen and to grant the wishes of the Davidson County Metro Council and the Wilson County Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. We are going to go out of session to hear from Mr. Hunter.
Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Hunter.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you,
Please-
committee.
Please introduce yourself
My
and
name
tell
is
us who you
Mason
represent.
Hunter. I live at 713 General Kershaw in Old Hickory. I've been a resident of Davidson County most of my life. I've lived in East Nashville, Sylvan Park, West End, Hermitage, Old Hickory. I've paid over almost $200,000 in property taxes to Davidson County, but this property is unique. My main driveway is the only one on the street that you access through Wilson County, and you have to go down to my house in Davidson County. When I purchased the home, it was advertised as Wilson County Schools. Once we got into the closing, we realized that it still had the Wilson County Schools, but you had a separate property tax for Davidson County. So I pay two separate property taxes. Put it this way, when my son goes to bed at night, he's in Davidson County. When he gets up in the morning to go get his clothes on, he's in Wilson County. When you jump off my diving board, you're in Wilson County. When you swim across the pool to get a beer, you're in Davidson County. So I'm trying to simplify my life, as Representative Lynn has said, that we do all of our business in Wilson County. You know, I had to pay $2,000 for a digital survey of this land, and all it does is simply take my land and tie it back into the county line. Nobody is impacted in the public arena at all with this property. So I really would appreciate your consideration. I've never met any of these folks in my life, and I've been so impressed by what you do in addition to your day jobs. And it was a bipartisan effort. All started with Larry Hager and Metro Council, Commissioner Robert Fields, then of course Jernigan, Lynn, and I'm just very pleased to be here. Thank you. And if there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. God bless America.
Members, any questions? Any questions? Okay. We are now back in session. Thank you. Oh, Chairman Jernigan, you're recognized.
Thank you. And I just want to say that we followed the process in code to a T. We did so in good faith. And so I would just ask that we give Mr. Hunter some legislative relief. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Lynn, any further comments?
No, Madam Chairman, this has been a long road, and I so appreciate all of you for being willing to listen and consider this request. Thank you.
Any further? The question has been called. All those in favor of sending House Bill 432 to state full signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Bill goes to state full.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Item number 4 is House Bill 509 by Chairman Boyd. Do I have a motion and a second? We have a motion and a second. Do you have an amendment for the bill?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, Committee. I do. That amendment number is drafting code 6312.
Do I have a second? We have a motion and second on the amendment. Chairman, you're recognized on the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. There is a section of code that's been around, I believe, since 1990 that authorizes different governing bodies, boards, agencies, and commissions of state government and some municipal government bodies to meet electronically or remotely. And what this bill does is it basically grafts in utility districts, water, wastewater, natural gas utility authorities, and municipal electric utilities and energy authorities into that so that they also can use electronic methods for getting into the meeting. And after meeting with some outside folks that had some questions and wanted to make sure that an electronic meeting, although the physical meeting would still be taking place, in most cases they wanted to make sure that there was transparency and that the public could still see it in the event of an all-remote meeting. So what we ended up doing was amending it to add the language that's in the governor's current executive order, and it would basically allow that the meeting would be there would be a link to it, and that people in the general public could watch the meeting electronically as well.
Any questions from the members on the amendment? We are now voting on the amendment. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it. The amendment is on the bill. Would you like to explain the bill as amended?
The amendment makes the bill, so that's basically it.
Okay.
Madam Chairman.
Well, we have 2 people here to testify, so without objection, we will now go out of session. First up is Deborah Fisher. Can you please state your name for the record?
Thank you.
And you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I'm Deborah Fisher, and I'm with Tennessee Coalition for Open Government. And we track public records and open meetings issues and promote open government. When the pandemic occurred, we supported the ability of governing bodies to meet electronically by phone because at that time, many governing bodies could only meet by phone. They couldn't do it by Zoom and so forth. We have real concerns with this bill. We know that the representative is working or has worked on one amendment, but we still have concerns with how this has come about. First of all, this Section 108 of the Open Meetings Act largely just applies to state. It was developed in 1990 and largely just applies to state commissions and governing bodies, with the idea that they have to travel from all parts of the state to get to one place. This puts in hundreds of local governing bodies, utility boards, solid waste boards, water boards, boards that have a lot of power over people. Many of them have eminent domain. Here in Nashville, the Solid Waste Board will decide whether or not to expand the Bordeaux landfill. They deal with things, they can raise rates. They deal with a lot of things that affect local people. The electronic meetings put a veil between people and the public, and we've learned this over people and their governing bodies, and we've learned this during the pandemic. We are concerned on a very basic level about the audibility this would permit 2 types of meetings, where half of the governing body could attend by phone, or it could also permit all of the governing body to attend by phone, entirely by a conference call. And we just don't think that is good for the public when the public has an interest, and it may just be, it's affecting their lives, and they show up before the board meeting. They're the only ones there in person. The governing body is not. So we do have concerns about this bill. It was mentioned that municipalities are covered in Section 108, and it really is only one municipality, the city of Belmead, that was put in there. In fact, I don't even think it applies to Belmead anymore because the definition no longer fits. But at any rate, this would add hundreds of local governing bodies to a part of the code that really was initiated for state boards and commissions. So,
Any questions for Ms. Fisher, members?
no,
Thank you.
thank you.
Second on the list is Jeremy Elrod from the Tennessee Municipal Electric Power Association. Please state your name for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Jeremy Elrod with the Tennessee Municipal Electric Power Association. Thank you, Madam Chair, committee members. We are in support of the legislation. We are added in with the amendment, and we've worked on the amendment to add in the governor's requirements under the executive order. None of the requirements that are in the executive order are in current state law. So under the governor's executive order, it does allow real-time if a board is meeting, either one person or all the board members are meeting electronically, there has to be something in the meeting notice that states that and provides a way for the public to get access to that. So that we think is a significant increase in particular public access to utility board meetings. Pre-pandemic, utility board meetings are very lightly attended, and so if the public has access to it to watch it online, we think there's going to be a lot more people that are going to be watching utility boards. Something that would be different under if this bill passes as opposed to what is in current state law. In current state law, if a state board meets under this statute, and if they meet all electronically, they have to make a determination to the Secretary of State of why they met all electronically. Yes. So this bill would restore that post-pandemic. So right now, if say after COVID-19. A utility board can have 1 or 2 people, but meet electronically, audio only, video only, but there still have to be a quorum present. If there's not a quorum present at the meeting location, there has to be a determination of why that happened filed with the Secretary of State. And according to the statute, that the Secretary of State has to file a report with the General Assembly every year. So we feel with this legislation, the public would have a significant increase in access to utility board meetings, and that if, however many utility boards, we're like everyone else, we're wanting to get back to normal, to meeting in person and getting things back to normal. But if there are those instances where post-pandemic there have to be utility boards that only meet virtually, that's the whole entire board, or a quorum of it meet electronically, there will be a report or notice sent to the Secretary of State and a report sent to the General Assembly. Anyone that does appear audio only has to identify themselves every time they talk during the meeting, and according to the governor's executive order, which have included in the legislation, all votes have to be roll call votes, so you know who is voting on anything as simple, any vote as simple as approving the minutes or increasing rates. If they are participating electronically, there has to be a roll call vote of all the board members.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the members? Representative Alexander.
So there has to be a quorum in the building that the people have come to.
Yep.
To hear. So there has to be a quorum in the building, and only one or two can be virtual.
Yes, ma'am. Unless, let me step back. No matter how many, according to the statute, and this is not in the governor's executive order, according to the statute, no matter how many people are present at the location or not, there has to be access to the public for them at the meeting location. But if there is not, and generally there has to be a quorum present at the meeting location. If there is not a quorum present at the meeting location, there has to be a determination that has to be included in the minutes, that has to be filed with the Secretary of State, of why they made the decision not to have a quorum present at the meeting location. So, I'm not going to, it is our hope that is, used lightly, but there will be a report to y'all, annually from the Secretary of State of how often that happens.
Chairman Jernigan.
Thank you. My question is about the roll call. What would be just to put on the record, what's your definition of roll call? Because what we're having right now in Metro Nashville is everybody say aye, they say aye, and if you want to be recorded as a no, then you record yourself in the no, and they assume everybody else is a yes. I want to know your definition of roll call for this bill.
I would say I've watched the Metro Council meetings that you talked about. Our utility boards are not 40 members, so we have some utility boards, at least municipal electric utilities, that are small as 3 members. So it should, and we have most of ours are 5, but they can be as small as 3. I think we have some that are even have 7 board members. So a roll call vote to me would be what y'all take as a roll call vote of you say the name and then record the vote. But I think there may be other definitions of what a roll call vote would be, but that would be my definition of it. And if that's something we need to clear up for the legislation, this would not apply to the Metro Council. It was mentioned the Solid Waste Board would not apply to the Solid Waste Board. It would only apply to essentially utility boards. But if that's something we need to clear up.
Well, I just use it as an example because if you're on video and you just hear ayes, and you just don't know how your person voted. And if you were at the meeting, you just walk up to them and ask them. Mm-hmm. If they don't, but I just wanted to put that on the record of what a roll call vote is. Thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none, we will now go back into session.
Thank you.
Chairman, do you have any further discussion on the bill?
Madam Chairman, this bill has been well thought out. It's important to my county. We had a member on a natural gas utility board that actually went to a board meeting, wondered if he should go, went, and actually contracted COVID-19 and passed away. So this is important to my county, but it's well thought out, and I appreciate Ms. Fisher bringing her concern, because we actually, after thinking about it, did want to put some more sunlight on this, and I think putting that provision in the amendment so that people could get on there electronically and see the meeting was a very necessary and good addition to this legislation. But I'll take any questions.
Chairman Jernigan.
Just real quick, you feel though the norm is that you'll meet in person, right? To get back to where we were.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, I think the intention here is that there is a quorum present. The meeting goes on as normal, but you have one person that maybe is in quarantine, or maybe they're for whatever reason they can't physically make it, and they're able to participate electronically. That's the intention of this bill.
What you can't think of right now, right? That's why you want to do it. So that's good. All right, thanks.
Chairman Boyd.
I'll take any questions, Madam Chairman.
Any further questions? We are now ready to vote. All those in favor of sending House Bill 509 to state full signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Bill goes to state full.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and committee.
Item number 5 is House Bill 1050 by Chairman Lafferty. We have a proper motion and second. Chairman, do you have an amendment?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
You verify the
6202.
We have a motion. Do we have a second on the amendment? We have a proper motion and second. Chairman, you are recognized on the amendment.
Thank you for that, Madam Chair. This bill seeks to align the governor's office agency employees to the same kind of standards that our elected officials are held to in regards to lobbying. This bill is directed towards staff within the governor's office whose job responsibilities include communicating with the legislative branch to influence legislative action from lobbying during the 12-month period following departure from such an office. This proposed legislation would expand applicability to any staff within the governor's office whose jobs or responsibilities include influencing legislative action. And with that, I believe we've got a speaker today, too, that was wanting to come.
Well, let's vote on the amendment first. Do
Oh,
we have any
sorry.
questions for members on the amendment? We are voting on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it. The amendment is on the bill. Would you like to go out of we'll go out of session and
Sure.
hear from the governor's office. We are now out of session. Good morning. You have 3 minutes for your testimony. Please introduce yourself and tell us who you represent for the record.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Valerie Yancey, Governor Lee's Legislative Office. Could I please ask, did the amendment include legislative staff? I haven't seen the amendment, but I was told it would.
No, it does not.
It does not include legislative staff. Okay, thank you. Madam Chair and members, the legislation before you would penalize employees for choosing to work in a setting that gives them firsthand training, knowledge, and a path for advancement in future careers. The 2006 extraordinary session enacted legislation requiring a one-year cooling-off period for both elected members of the General Assembly and cabinet members of the administration. House Bill 1050 would add all employees of the administration to this requirement. The professionals in these positions work at the pleasure of the governor and their commissioners. We have no civil service protection, and we can be asked to leave our positions regardless of performance as an administration changes. For me, this legislation stirs strong personal emotions. Both as a legislative staffer for 24 years and now serving in my second administration, I have worked side by side with outstanding professionals to help train equally outstanding professionals for future public and private sector service. What better opportunity to learn how to be an effective communicator than to have firsthand experience in this realm? These employees work countless hours to help our governor and our legislature serve their constituents. So to be penalized by a year cooling off period before they would be allowed to take their next step in a career seems egregious. This bill would basically give precedence to newcomers over seasoned veterans that have worked with and for you. I can't help but ask, what's this bill trying to solve? Why would we want to stifle a staffer's ability to advance and continue to add value to the process? And I would like to say, while it says it brings these employees equal to cabinet and legislators, if I may, cabinet members and legislators have careers outside of this place. You come here as a citizen legislature. Our folks don't have those careers outside of this place. This is their career. And to make them step back for a year to do what would really be problematic for them. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. We are now back in session. Representative, you're recognized.
Thank you for that. Certainly, someone that's been through the gauntlet, if you will, that you and I all deal with daily, sets them up very well to be a lobbyist. There's no doubt about that. To imply that somehow a job in government service is a training ground for lobbyists, I don't know that that's a good idea, but I didn't want to go down that path too far. We have got, right now, people that have the exact same knowledge. They know where the bones are buried, if you will. They know how the system works, and it's set up a process where, maybe not nefariously, but possibly, people can take jobs, walk out of the governor's office, sign a contract for Lord knows how much money to make some big contract come through for some person's dream project that's funded by the taxpayers of the state of Tennessee. That people make decisions on where they work, who they work for, is a process that every Tennessean goes through. At some point, we've all made a decision. Am I going to follow this path? Am I going to follow another? We make arrangements. We're adults. We plan for things. That's what we do. So to say that someone is prohibited from making a career change because they have to lay out 12 months, I'm not sure that that carries water. Does it take a little extra planning? No doubt about it. Is it something that stops them from making the leap? Absolutely not. It simply allows that cooling down period so that some separation can be made, just like for you and I, for people that have the same knowledge that you and I do about how the system works and how it can be manipulated, and it's really not much more difficult than that. With that, I'll be glad to take any questions.
Speaker Johnson.
Thank you,
you're
Madam
recognized.
Chair. Representative Lafferty, this would not prevent an attorney that works for the governor's staff from leaving and going into that profession. It's just lobbying. Is that correct?
You're recognized.
Make sure I understood the question. Would not stop a governor's attorney from going?
Let's say if the governor has an attorney, he leaves the governor's office and goes into private practice as an attorney. That would not prevent that.
Chairman. you're
Absolutely
recognized.
not.
Thank you.
Representative Alexander, you're recognized.
Representative Lafferty, what good does a year of cooling off? They're still going to have the same contacts, the same, maybe I'm at my age where I do forget stuff, but in a year you don't forget things. I just don't see the point of a year, and I think we're punishing our staff that have worked hard for us, and that makes me nervous.
You're recognized.
Fair point. The one-year layoff doesn't give you, it doesn't put you in a position where you've forgotten your contacts. Right. What it can do, though, is create space from perhaps legislation that's in the works, perhaps legislation that affects building projects, road projects, things where friends of friends can come together and make things happen. It does put some space there. And I don't think, to your point, I don't think the 12 months causes people to lose those contacts. It simply puts some space in between so that things can mellow a little bit. And keep it from being so fluid, maybe is a good way to say it. You can't walk out the governor's office, help somebody negotiate a contract, and get paid. So that's my thought on that. Yes, ma'am.
Chairman Jernigan.
Thank you. I just want to follow up on the speaker's question that he had for you about the attorney. So if attorney works in the governor's office but then becomes an attorney for TennCare or another department, that would not prevent, that's not lobbying, right? Or would that be encompassed in this?
I do not believe, and I may ask clarity from legal here, I do not believe that would influence that situation, no. To move around in departments.
It would, okay. Thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing, Any further anything you want to say?
No, ma'am.
No? Okay. I guess we're ready to vote. All those in favor of House Bill 1050 going to state full signify by saying aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Bill goes to state full.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Thank you, committee.
Who said no? Same thing. I don't see. Item number 13 is House Bill 197 by Representative Zachary. Do you have a motion and a second?
Thank you, Madam Chair, committee. I do have an amendment, Madam Chair, which makes the bill, which is drafting code 5640.
Do I have a motion and a second on the amendment? Item number 13. Chairman, you're recognized on the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, this was brought to me by Speaker Pro Tem Hale, and it's an issue he's been working on for roughly 3 years. He's working in this legislation. It works to provide relief to local governments that are dealing with individuals whose sole purpose is to interfere with the government operations by making massive record requests for no other reason than to cost government time and money. I've got an example, one of the examples that was brought to Speaker Pro Tem Hale specific to this bill, and then I'll explain the amendment. Let me just give an example as to what we're talking about so you'll have some context when I explain the amendment. In Sumner County, they have had an issue where one particular gentleman has been requesting massive amounts of information a massive amount of information in public records request. The amount of time is roughly 2 to 3 weeks that is spent to gather this information. Then the individual has been coming in and reviewing the information for roughly 30 seconds, not taking ownership of it, so that way there's no cost incurred to him, and then he simply turns around and leaves and then makes another request. To the point that the department has had to create a new room with a computer set up with one person dedicated to review the large amounts of files and papers involved with this particular request. And this is just one individual, and through Speaker Hale's research, he discovered that many counties have at least 1 or 2 people that create burdensome time and money requests with government for requests similar to this. So what the amendment does, the amendment simply establishes a process by which a records custodian may petition the court to prohibit a requester whose sole intent is to disrupt governmental operations after the requester has been provided notification. The records custodian can request an enjoyment after the requester has made 5 of these requests that they believe is their sole intent to disrupt government operation. The requester has continued to make these requests even after being notified of the abuse of the request. Even after the petition is filed, the requester can continue to make the request, but if the custodian prevails in the case, the requester then pays for the labor cost of producing all the subsequent requests made since the petition was filed. Speaker Hale worked with TCOG on this. And the amendment that you see before you is the work of the last 3 years. And again, this is simply to prohibit those whose sole use is to abuse the open records request by creating an undue burden on government and the taxpayers for not paying for the incredible amount of paper and time required. That's what this amendment does. And it does sunset at 2025, so this will run for a couple of years to see if this solves the problem, and then this body will need to take additional action. So hopefully I explained that well enough, and you have the amendment in front of you, and I'll be glad to take any questions.
Any questions on the amendment? Chairman Marsh?
I agree 100%, and I just want you to explain it again to me, how it would stop the person from just being disruptive and costing all this time and money.
Sure. Yep. Thank you, Speaker. So what this does, I'll without reading this, what it will do is it will allow the records custodian, after this person has made 5 requests. So this particular person, take the Sumner County example. I mean, literally, it was 2 to 3 weeks worth of work for a request based on a traffic stop. And I've got more details on this particular case, but this is the best case. In the city of Gallatin, there was a traffic stop. The person did not agree with the video, so he requested months and months and months of records. But then when he came to the police department to review, or to the records custodian to review, he simply looked at them 30 seconds and turned around and walked away. So this says that you get 5 of those requests. And after the 5th request, then the record custodian can then petition to stop you from filing these requests. Because after the 5th request, it becomes very clear that you were just doing this to be burdensome and create undue burden on local governments, and it's costing the taxpayers literally thousands and thousands of dollars. Sumner, for example, literally has had to dedicate 1 person in 1 room with equipment just for these blasted requests.
Chairman Marsh.
Why would we want to wait 5 requests? Why not do it after 1? If he that's all he did was look at it and walk out, you knew he was playing a game. And I'm sure that we got to give the public the right to look at this. But if we know, I don't know how you're going to figure out that you know they're doing this on purpose. I think 5 is too much. But
Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Madam Chair. Speaker, agreed. But I think to be fair and to make sure that we are err on the side of caution in terms of all open records requests and making sure that we're leaning on the side of transparency, we're going to give 5, but I'm sure there are warnings that can be provided to that person as they get close to that number. But again, while it is not ideal, it is a step in the right direction, and it at least puts some parameters around it while still erring on the side of caution toward transparency.
Chairman Jernigan.
Thank you. Chairman, the 5, is that in a period of time? Is it 5 over a year, 5 years?
You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, sir, it's my understanding it's just 5.
Just 5. So I guess if it's 5 over 10 years, though, that wouldn't be harassment. That'd be, I guess that's a judgment call at that point, but. Okay, that answers my question. I like the bill. I just wanted to know the time frame.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's 1 year. Thank you. It's in the amendment. It's 1 year.
Oh, then I'm definitely, okay.
There you go.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you. All
Thank
right.
you.
Any further questions? We are now voting on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it. The amendment is on the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee.
Oh.
In my haste, thank you.
You're recognized on the bill.
No additional comments. Be glad to take any questions.
The question has been called. All those in favor of sending House Bill 197 to state full signify by saying aye. Aye. Ayes have it. Bill goes to state full.
Thank you again, Madam Chair and committee.
We are back to item number 6, House Bill 1492 by Representative Towns. We have a proper motion and second. Representative, do you have a amendment?
Yes, ma'am. There's an amendment. Madam Chair, let me say top of the morning to each and every one of you all, with the exception of Colonel Wendell. It's so good to see you and be back. There is an amendment that I think you have that
Yes,
adds,
drafting code.
Ma'am?
Can you give me the drafting code, please?
Absolutely. I'm sorry. I think I left it in the office. Let me see, Madam Chair. 5802. Thank you so much, sir. I left it in the office. 5802, I can explain it to you.
Okay, is there a motion and second on the amendment? We have a proper motion and second. Representative, you're recognized on the amendment.
Madam Chair, once again, this bill actually made it all the way through to the House floor last year, and because of things that happened with us getting out of COVID and Senate side not being able to get to it, and they're moving pretty good with this year. We didn't get a chance to complete this work. What this amendment does, however, it explains actually what a hate group is, coupled with what they didn't do. They didn't spell out what I wanted to make sure was included in here is gangs, because gangs are where we found that they have infiltrated the police department. across the country. And so that should have been included in there. So that amendment addresses those two issues, gangs as well as spelling out what a hate group is. And essentially, that's what the amendment does. It doesn't make the bill, but it enhances the bill.
Do we have any questions from the members on the amendment? Speaker Marsh, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. How would you go about gathering this information?
Well, our law enforcement is very clever. What they have told us is that one of the greatest ways that they ascertain information is when there's a breakup. Girlfriends call and tell it. People tell it. And then the young people are so, I'm going to say, non-astute. They post stuff. Everywhere you go, there's a trail. I mean, it's like the whole life is a trail. So it's really, according to them, it's easy for them to acquire that information. You know, it's like the FBI, you know, they have a lot of tools, and so they can find it. And eventually it comes out. They get cocky, get confident, it comes out. Maybe at a party or whatever, people, you know, libation, inhibition get a little low, and it just comes out. But the police officers, the force needs to know what they're dealing with. They really do.
Speaker Marsh.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I would think that most law enforcement agencies would do a background check and do all kind of work trying to make sure they're hiring a good person. Would that change? Would this add any more work to them, or just tell them make sure you check?
Rep Towns, you're recognized.
May I? They do background checks, but Speaker, some of this comes to play after they get hired. They do background checks thoroughly, of course, but it comes into play, and then they embed it in, and they have to go do all this due process. But this is speaking on the bill. Once they find out, they don't have to go through the due process. Just let them go, you know. Yes, sir. It's my pleasure.
Any further questions? We are voting on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment is on the bill. Chairman, you're recognized on the bill as amended.
Thank you, Madam Chair, as well. As amended, what the bill does, I just explained the amendment, but what the bill really does, it allows our law enforcement agencies, once they find out this information, either prior to or after, which is most critical, that they can allow these people they can just terminate them, and there's no recourse for them, because it is the law that you cannot be involved in these kinds of groups and be a member of the police department or law enforcement. And so that protects them, I think, against lawsuits and things of that nature.
Thank you. We have someone here to testify, so without objection,
Thank you.
we will now go out of session. Thank you for joining us today. You have 3 minutes for your testimony. Please introduce yourself and tell us who you represent.
Thank you. Elizabeth Stroker. I'm the Legislative Director and Assistant General Counsel for the Department of Safety. And thank you to Representative Towns. He's been working with us on this bill for the past year, and we've got it to a good spot. We think it's a good idea, and we certainly don't want these individuals to be, especially not within the Tennessee Highway Patrol. We just needed to clean up some of the language so that we had some guidance on to make sure it's consistent with what we do, and so we're comfortable with it as amended.
Any questions from the members? Thank you. We are now back in session. Representative, do you have any further comments?
No, ma'am. I just thank the committee and the Colonel as well.
The question has been called. All those in favor of sending House Bill 1492 to state full signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Bill goes to state full.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members.
Item number 7 is House Bill 1296 by Representative Johnson. We'll roll that to the Hill. Item number 8 is House Bill 1322 by Representative Hardaway. We will roll that to the Hill. Yes, Speaker Johnson.
Madam Chair, Representative Hardaway said there's still a little work to do on this, and he's meeting with the Police Chiefs Association over the summer and request to move this to the first calendar of 2022.
Okay. We will move that to the first calendar of 2022. So ordered. Item number 10 is House Bill 415 by Leader Camper. It is deferred and rolled to 2022. House Bill number 11 is 1583 by Leader Camper. We're going to roll the bill to 2022. Item number 12 is House Bill 1584 by Leader Camper. Roll the bill to 2022. Item number 14 is House Bill 488 by Chairman Williams. We have a proper motion and second. Believe you have an amendment.
Yes, ma'am, I do. This was a caption bill that we're using. The drafting code for the amendment, which rewrites the bill, is drafting code 005847.
Do I have a motion and second? We have a proper motion and second. Chairman, you're recognized on the amendment.
Thank you, Chairman and members. This amendment makes the bill. Currently, the Department of Safety's radios that troopers use are soon going to be replaced and purchased newer models. Because the department would like to use these old radios, refurbish them, and give them to local law enforcement in distressed counties. Under current state law, it's not allowed for them to give these radios to local governments. This amendment adds a narrow exception for the surplus property law, which would allow safety to do this in this very narrow circumstance. The counties, distressed counties that would receive these old radios would be Lake, Lauderdale, Hardeman, Perry, Wayne, Clay, Grundy, Bledsoe, Scott, Hancock, and Cott counties. With that, Chair Lady, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Is there any questions from the members on the amendment? We're voting on the amendment. All those in favor, say aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment is on the bill. Any further questions from the Speaker Marsh, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. If you have excess radios past the distressed counties, will there be, and could you give them to other counties that might need them?
I don't know the answer to that question, but Ms. Stroker, who was just testified a minute ago, she probably would be able to answer.
We'll go out of session and hear from Ms. Stroker.
Elizabeth Stroker, Legislative Director for the Department of Safety. What was your question, Speaker Marsh?
The amendment says only you can give them to distressed counties. I'm just asking if there are excess radios, could they go to other counties?
As the bill is drafted, it's specific for those counties that are labeled as distressed. It's definitely something we could look at in the future, but I think the intent behind it was to give it to those counties who wouldn't be able to afford it on their own.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? We are back in session. Any further discussion on the bill? The question has been called. All those in favor of sending House Bill 488 to state full signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it. Bill goes to state full. We are now taking up addendum number 1, House Bill 506 by Chairman Williams. Do I have a motion and a second? Believe you have an amendment.
I do. Drafting code 6167.
Do I have a motion and second on the amendment? We have a proper motion and second. Chairman, you are recognized on the amendment.
Thank you, Chair Lady and members. This amendment, which rewrites the bill, is titled the Defense of Liberty Act. As many of you may know, currently the federal government and the courts have made many decisions which impact state law. Unfortunately, we don't have the ability or standing in federal courts to be able to defend our laws as it relates to our individual states. So what this bill would do, it would create the Office of Solicitor General, which would be elected by the legislative body so that this body could fund and direct the Solicitor General to sue in federal courts. If you look at Section 8(6), Section 503, Section B1, it determines what the abilities for this Solicitor General would be, and that is to defend the interests of state and federal court and administrative proceedings with the resolution of the proceedings which may negatively impact the state. This is a novel idea. I've heard from my district and across the state that they're concerned that the federal bureaucracy is changing who we are and our individual identities as states. This would give us an opportunity to find standing and sue in courts and be directed by the legislature to do so, since we are the legislative body who makes the laws for our state. With that, Chair Lady, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions from members? Chairman Jernigan.
Chairman, is this funded in the governor's budget, or?
You're recognized.
There's a note.
There is a fiscal note. I received it prior to coming to the committee. It does have a $160,000 recurring cost as it relates to the cost. I think that's a good question, of which myself and the chairman of finance, chair lady of finance and finance ways and means will probably have a discussion about.
Chairman Jernigan.
Thank you. My second question would be, would the Attorney General also be able to file, or would both be able to file at the same time, or they just kind of support each other with amicus briefs?
This would allow the Solicitor General to file amicus brief in the instance on behalf of the legislature. In the instance the Attorney General wouldn't. Those duties that the Attorney General had as a part of this bill, as it relates to federal, would be handled by the Solicitor General.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any further questions? We are now voting on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it. The amendment is on the bill. Chairman, you're recognized on the bill as amended.
Thank you, Chair Lady, members. I'm happy to answer any questions members may have.
Any further questions? The question has been called. All those in favor of sending House Bill 506 to state full signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Bill goes to state full.
Thank you, Chair Lady, members.
We're back to item number 15, House Bill 138 by Chairman Hawk.
Call for the question.
We have a motion and a question. I'm sorry, we have a motion and a second. Chairman, you're recognized on the bill.
I was hoping to get by without saying a word, so I'm happy to. Thank you so much, Madam Chairman and members. Invariably, and most recently, special legislative sessions have become a normal course of business for our Tennessee General Assembly. What House Bill 138 does is set forth parameters for a September session of the General Assembly to be held every other year in odd number years. We would convene on the Tuesday following Labor Day. If there is no business that is pressing at that time, we would meet in a quorum in the legislative chamber, in the House chamber, in the Senate chamber, and we would adjourn. If there were work to be done, and there are very limited scope of ideas and options that can come up, if there were work to be done, we would start the Tuesday following Labor Day, and there would be a hard stop on September 30th. If there were an issue that needed more time to stew on than that, we probably needed to wait until the following January anyway. So this bill sets up the parameters to have that legislative session, so when we run for office, we'll have an idea of when we're going to be here, when we'll be called into Nashville, when we will be able to do legislative business. I know I'm not the only one in the room that has thought, wow, I wish we were in legislative session so we could fix that. Invariably, there's something that comes up every summer that says, should we call a special session? This gives us a more set time frame to come back and to do the work of the people that they've asked us to do during the month of September. So with that, and pending any questions, I certainly look for a favorable review of this.
Chairman Jernigan.
Chairman, I want to get down to the root of this. Do you miss us in the off in September?
Chairman Jernigan, when we get back the Tuesday in January, it's like the first day of school. When we adjourn session in April and what could be May this year, I probably hate you guys as much as anything. No, I don't hate anybody. I dislike you guys as much as anybody. But then come September, in my experience, invariably there's something that pops up, a Supreme Court decision, something the federal government has done, that we need to come back in. Our budget document is coming to an end, and we're able to reconcile our budget document in the month of September and hear a report on that. We talk about special summer studies, some real summer studies on potential issues. This would give us a week or a time frame set to conduct those as well, if and when a true summer study does occur on a piece of legislation. So this is an idea that I've had for 4 or 5 years. I've been told that I'm 4 or 5 years ahead of my time, so maybe it's caught up to us, and we'll see where this legislation goes now. But yes, I do miss you when you're not here.
Speaker Marsh, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I guess you've seen the physical note. It's over $500,000, and the public says that when we're up here in session, we better watch out. We could be causing a lot of trouble. So, thank you.
I understand, and if I could address that, I understand sometimes, and this is said about Congress more so than the Tennessee General Assembly, but whenever they're in session, you need to hide your wallets. So I understand where you're coming from. The fiscal note on a particular piece of legislation, we have a legislative budget that sets forth the parameters of historically a 90-day time frame within the House or Senate chambers over a 2-year time frame. Again, historical basis, we have been over the last decade in the 60s in terms of number of days of General Assembly time that we have used in the chamber. So this, I feel confident, and it will go to finance, and we'll have a broad discussion in finance if the bill is met with favor in this committee, in the full committee. But I feel confident that that could be absorbed within the traditional General Assembly budget that we pass every year.
Any further discussion? Guess we're ready to vote. All those in favor of sending House Bill 138 to state full signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Bill goes to state full.
Thank you. Now I know who I need to work on. Thank you, Madam Chair and members.
Thank you. Item number 7 is House Bill 693 by Chairman Doggett. I'm going to roll it to the hill. Item number 18 is House Bill. Item number 18 by House Bill 1562 by Representative Mitchell will go to the hill. Item number 19, House Bill 1471 by Chairman Ogles will go to the hill. Item number 20, House Bill 1404 by Representative Hall. Do I have a motion and a second? Representative, you are recognized on the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee. House Bill 1404 simply makes Tennessee a more competitive and attractive place to work by adding 4 weeks of paid maternity leave for young mothers and families that have adopt children up to the age of 6. Very simple.
Any questions from the members? Representative Alexander?
Why the age cutoff at 6? Because they're already in school.
Yes. Yes,
But if it's summer, they're not.
that is correct.
Yeah. Okay. Great bill. Thank you.
Any further questions from the members? All those in favor of sending House Bill 1404 to state full signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it. Bill goes to state full.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee.
Item. Correction, House Bill 1471 has been taken off notice. Item number 21, House Bill 1087 by Representative Hakeem has been taken off notice. Item number 22, House Bill 1277 by Representative Griffey.
Could I roll that 1 week, please, Madam Chair?
This is our final calendar.
Could I roll it to the hill then?
Roll to the hill.
Thank you.
Item number 23, House Bill 939 by Representative Sparks. Roll to the hill. Item number 24, House Bill 1593 by Representative Miller. Row to the hill. Item number 25, House Bill 1169 by Representative Harris. Do I have a second? We have a proper motion and second. Can you have an amendment? Can you verify your drafting code?
Yes, Chair. Thank you, Chair. That's 6033.
Okay. Is there a motion and second on the amendment? We have a proper motion and second. Representative, you're recognized on the amendment.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And so this bill actually this amendment makes the bill. And so with this bill, what it would do would allow people the opportunity who are elected officials to be able to take off time while they are here doing governmental business from their regular job for up to 800 hours, which is about 5 months when you calculate that. And of course, the Fridays are taken out in the case that you have like meetings during the summer or whatnot, but you have 800 hours to use. And this bill came about actually from one of my Republican constituents who would love to be able to run for public office, but was unable to because he's unable to balance that amount of money that you receive as an elected official up here in the state with his job that he currently works. And so this has also become a situation that I'm kind of familiar with. Also, I work as the Director of Human Resources in local government as well. And so with my job, I'm blessed enough to be able to do this role and that one and have enough hours to take off fully to do this. But there are a lot of working people, that work at city council, city and local and commission who would love to run for office, or in education or government altogether, who would love to run for office and be elected officials, but they're trying to figure out ways to balance that out. So this bill would allow that by giving 800 hours a year to be able to take off that time, and then anything after that they would have to use their own personal leave that they may have.
Any questions from the members on the amendment? Speaker Marsh.
Thank you. And Representative Harris, would this would be like a private company?
This would only be for governmental entities. So if you work for a local government in some form, state government in some form, it only applies to elected officials on the state side. Like our governor, if the governor had a separate job and wanted to do this at the same time, you'd be able to take off 800 hours from whatever the job was that he's working at, but it has to be with a government entity like a school or whatnot.
Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Would it be education also?
Yes.
Teachers?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? We are voting on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. All those. We are voting on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Opposed? No. The ayes have it. The amendment is on the bill. Representative, you're recognized on the bill.
Yes, and so that, the amendment does make the bill, so if there's nothing further.
Any further questions? We are voting on the bill as amended. All those in favor of sending House Bill 1169 to state full signify by saying aye. Those opposed, no. Bill fails.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Item number 27, House Bill 134 by Speaker Marsh has been taken off notice. We are on addendum number 2. Item number 1, House Bill 392 by Representative Reedy. Do I have a motion and a second?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to roll this to the first calendar of 2022.
So be it. Rolled. Bill is rolled. Thank you. We are on item number 17, House Bill 693 by Chairman Doggett. We have a motion and a second. Do you have an amendment?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
What is the drafting code, please?
005615.
Is there a motion and second on the amendment? We have a proper motion and second. Chairman, you're recognized on the amendment.
Thank you very much. What the amendment does is it adds into the language of the original bill that we have here, a remedy or a mechanism for nullification for this committee that the other bill creates.
We are voting on the amendment if there's no questions from the members. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it. The amendment is on the bill. Chairman, you're recognized on the bill.
Thank you very much, committee. What this legislation does, it sets up a committee that examines the 10th Amendment. Or examines any mandates or edicts or laws or executive actions that come down from the federal government and how they apply to the states. And so this committee would be comprised of members of the House and the Senate, where the Speaker of both houses would be appointing those members. This committee would meet. They would examine those things that come down from the federal government and then see how they line up constitutionally with not only our state constitution but our federal constitution and how they apply to the state. What the amendment did was put in a mechanism if they have findings that say this is unconstitutional, that they would be able to recommend to the General Assembly a method of how to go about for nullification without enforcing those laws that this committee and the General Assembly finds to be unconstitutional.
Do we have any questions from the members?
I guess I have a question.
Chairman Jernigan, you're recognized.
You know, under the supremacy clause, we don't have the power to nullify a federal law. I guess we could nullify it, but we would lose all the I guess the money that comes with it. But we don't have the power to nullify a law in Congress. I'm fairly certain of that. We fought a whole war about it. I think that, so it wouldn't require the General Assembly, just a recommendation to nullify a law?
You're recognized.
All right, thank you. It is a recommendation from this committee for nullification of unconstitutional edicts, mandates, executive orders, things that come down from the federal government to the states.
Chairman Jernigan.
Is it, I understand it, so if the Supreme Court rules it unconstitutional, then I understand, because that's the law of the land, we can follow that. But other than the Supreme Court, the state would be able to say that we don't recognize that federal law, that we nullify it. Is that correct?
Would you repeat that question? I'm sorry.
So when the Supreme Court rules, I understand that that's the law of the land and it's unconstitutional, and we would follow that. But other than the Supreme Court, if Congress, executive order, whatever it is, regardless of what party it is, then you're saying that we would have the power to nullify that congressional law or that executive order. And I guess you're using the 10th Amendment, is that right?
Chairman Doggett.
That is correct, using the 10th Amendment. The Supreme Court may opine, they may give their opinion, but they cannot enforce laws. And any time that they send something, the federal government sends down legislation or executive orders that applies to the states, if this committee feels that this state, that order or action or law violates our Tennessee state constitution, it may violate the United States Constitution, that committee can make recommendations to the General Assembly to not enforce such law.
One more question.
You're recognized.
So the United States Supreme Court, they do not opine. Under Article 3 of the Constitution, whatever they rule is the law of the land. That's not an opinion, that's the law of the United States Constitution. And so I understand if they do it, and we can follow that as unconstitutional and be kind of wearing like a belt and suspenders. But I don't think we have the authority to nullify any federal law that comes around. But I mean, if it's just setting it up for a recommendation, as long as it's not a requirement. But I just wanted to make my comment for where I think this would probably, the 10th Amendment's been struck down quite a bit from federal law, but I understand where you're coming from, and I appreciate your comments.
Chairman Doggett.
Thank you.
Any further questions, members? We are ready to vote. All those in favor of sending House Bill 693 to state full signify by saying aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it. Bill goes to state full.
Thank you very much, committee.
We are back on item number 23, House Bill 939 by Representative Sparks. We have a proper motion and second. Representative, you're recognized on the bill.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, committee members. Committee, we had a summer study on this piece of legislation 2 years ago, and I know we have some newer members, freshmen, on here. But what reference-based pricing seeks to do is shed some light on our healthcare cost. I would argue that healthcare is the least transparent, least market-based product and service that there is out there. It's worse than higher education, if you will. But I'll argue that our state employees and the taxpayers are paying way too much for healthcare cost. Ralph Weber, where I come up with this bill, about 2.5 years ago, I was driving up here and I was thinking about our healthcare system and how it's kind of gotten cattywampus. My dad always used that term, cattywampus. He was a World War II guy. And I got a sister in a nursing home that couldn't get no response back from her insurance company, and she's on life support. Thankfully, she's alert now, still in a nursing home, lost everything she owned, even though she had insurance. And I kept thinking, man, we got to do something about health care. We have got to do something to shed some light on health care. Bring costs down, bring market-based solutions to health care. And I called Ralph Weber, used to be a constituent of mine. He's a CEO of a company called MetaBid. If you just Google MetaBid on YouTube, he's been on CNN. I was down here at First Bank's platform down there for a conference. Many of y'all were there when Newt Gingrich was there speaking. Ralph was on that healthcare panel there. He says, Mike, if you really want to solve a problem, you need to really investigate reference-based pricing. So he testified right here a year and a half ago. And I think we distributed his book to y'all last year, those who appeared last year. And I don't know all about healthcare. I know none of us are healthcare experts up here. But one thing that he pointed out that was interesting to me, he was saying in network, we're paying 6% more. And you think 6%, that's not a lot of money. You're in network, it's not a lot of money, 6%. Well, it's $96 million. It's $96 million that we're overpaying is what he's arguing. Maybe he's wrong, but if he's just wrong 90%, that's almost $10 million that we'd save. So I haven't had really time to work this bill to get to all the members up here. Really what I'd like to do is I'm hoping that the General Assembly, and I know the Speaker cares about health care. We've made some great strides with transparency, with transparency and billing, with Robin Smith and others, but I'm really hoping that maybe we could study this and other healthcare legislation this summer. And he's in Texas. It's pretty expensive for him to fly all the way up here just to be at a committee. But you know, I just think we need to have a real discussion about healthcare. And if this bill's wrong, then it's wrong, and I'll have egg all over my face. But if I'm 10% right, we just saved $9.6 million. And I think all of us up here, I know every one of you personally, and y'all care about health care. I know you do. Democrats and Republicans. I think we've moved the ball forward. I think we can move it forward more this summer if we could study this over the summer. Unless you're just willing to vote it up, I'll take that. But if you want to study it over the summer, have a real summer study, I'd like to get Ralph and other experts up here.
Any questions? Chair, Speaker. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second to send it to summer study. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
I just want to say something real fast if I could.
Okay.
There's somebody in this audience, I'm not going to call the name out, but we were talking about health care. They're sitting here, they know who they are. You may watch their body language. And he says, Mike, I got a bill for $2,000 the other day. About $2,000, this was last year. He says, I checked on it, I didn't have to pay that bill. How much of that happens in with health care? You get these surprise bills, and a lot of people Just pay it. You didn't do that in your business. You don't do that in your business, Pat. I didn't do that in my business. But thank you for y'all's indulgence.
Thank you. We had a motion and a second, and everybody agreed to send it to summer study.
Thank you. Thank you, Minnie.
House Bill number 18, House Bill 1562 by Mitchell is rolled to 2022. Item number 7, House Bill 1296 by Representative Johnson. We have a proper motion and second. Representative, you're recognized on the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and members. House Bill 1296 is a bill that would provide a paid family leave program for state employees and teachers in Tennessee. In 2020, Governor Lee announced that his administration was enacting a paid family leave policy for state employees. He said, "Strong families make for strong communities," and I'm proud that Tennessee will lead the nation in supporting our employees. This is an impactful investment in the state workforce and will allow us to continue to attract and retain the best workforce possible. And I can't agree more. Unfortunately, that never happened. This is an attempt to make good on that promise made to the employees. Under this bill, as eligible employees will be entitled to a total of 12 work weeks of paid family leave during the 12-month period immediately following the qualifying event. That could be time with a new child. It could be if you had a parent maybe who was ailing, you had to make arrangements or stay with them for a time, or if you became sick yourself with a serious illness. Employees cannot receive more than 12 work weeks of paid leave for a 12-month period, and under the bill, the State Board of Education and the Department of Human Services would create rules to govern the program. Here's why it's important that we move forward today. If we want to attract the best and brightest employees and keep them happy, we have to make the state a great place to work. And what we've seen in states that have passed paid family leave legislation, that's what they see. They see workers that are more productive, happier on the job, and that stay with them longer than normal. That's happened across the board. And just this week, Georgia passed very similar legislation to this. Paid family leave is associated with a 13% drop in infant mortality, and 69% of working Americans believe that receiving paid parental leave is important when they're looking for a job. There was recently a study done by one of the national legislative groups in Tennessee. They did a survey in Tennessee and found that 80% plus were in favor of paid family leave. So that's what the bill's about.
Do we have questions from the members? Seeing none, all those in favor of sending House Bill 1296 to state full signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Bill fails.
Thank you, Chairwoman and members.
Thank you. Mr. Sergeant at Arms, would you please see if you can find Representative Griffey and Representative Miller? 954, this was the third time that this bill has been calendared in this committee per the House rules. The bill is moved to the special calendar to be heard along with the final calendar. Without objection, so ordered. What about Hardaway? Griffey's here. Okay. I've got to find him on my calendar. What number is he?
Griffey, number 20.
Okay. Item number 22 is House Bill 1277 by Representative Griffey. Do I have a motion and a second? You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and members of the committee. This bill is to try to give the voters of Tennessee an additional procedure to recall elected officials. That there's very specific provisions in it, malfeasance, violation of law, or incompetence. You got to have 10% on of that. This is different from what we've got, because it's my understanding under Tennessee law currently the voters don't have their own independent way to do it. The legislators are responsible for enforcing other elected officials through removal procedures, but this will give the voters that opportunity, and that's what, I know it's got a physical note on it, but that's essentially what the bill does.
Representative, do you have an amendment? Because this sounds like a
believe
caption.
I believe, yes, I do, and I apologize. I didn't think we'd really get to it
There's
today.
no
and
amendment
I thought
showing
y'all-
up.
I didn't know this was the last calendar, but, so my notebook's upstairs, but there is an amendment. I think it's 6-0 or 6-2.
It was untimely filed. It was not filed at all with the committee.
Oh, and so all y'all got right now is a caption?
Yes, sir.
Well, if I could roll this to the hill, let me check with my assistant, see if there's something.
We are at the Hill. We are at the Hill.
Well, I apologize then, so. Roll it to next,
Chairman Wendell?
I make a motion, we move it to the first calendar of this next year.
Yes, please.
We will roll to the next calendar. All those in favor of that?
First calendar of 2022.
The first calendar of 2022. We will roll to the first calendar of 2022.
And my apologies. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
September. So.
Chairman Wendell, do you have something to report on?
Leader Camp, excuse me, may I be recognized?
You're recognized.
Leader Camper is currently in banking sub, but she does want to run House Bill 1593, and her assistant is in the back of the room. Madam Chairman, if we could send the Sergeant at Arms to inform Leader Camper that this is, we're about to end up the committee. Is that fair?
Is that Representative Miller or?
Camper.
Okay. Okay.
So is Camper coming to present?
No, this is it.
This is the last bill. And the last bill.
Yes, Speaker.
This is our last calendar, subject to the call of the chair. And I would like to say, I think you have done an excellent job as chairman.
Thank you. Thank you.
And it's been an honor serving on this committee.
Well, it's been an honor serving with everybody, and this was my first time, and today was a little hectic. But I have to thank Joshua Houston, Nathan Witt, my assistant Samantha, and then just everybody, and Sergeant of Arms, and it's been an experience. I've enjoyed it, but today has been kind of all over the place. So thank you for your patience.
I want to follow up on the Speaker's comments. Your conduct during the hearings has been exemplary, professional, and competent, and I appreciate it personally. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
I'd like to follow up on that. You've got a steady, calming voice that some chairmen don't have. So I appreciate, you've done a great job.
Thank you. Thank you. We are on item number 24, House Bill 1593 by Leader Camper. We have a proper motion and second. Leader Camper, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, sorry for the delay. I was in another committee, couldn't get out.
It's okay.
What this bill does, well, let me give you a little history. Back in 2009, when I first got to the General Assembly, the state had done a disparity study with minority contracting, and, you know, in that study, there were some recommendations made and policy recommendations, funding set aside that is still sitting in the Treasury, maybe about, my best estimate is about $800,000, still sitting in the Treasury for us to implement those recommendations. We never implemented the recommendations, and so what I thought would be prudent, since it's been over 10 years, is that we have tasked to do another disparity study looking at state contracting with minority-owned businesses. And so that's what this bill does. Sets up a study by TASA to do that.
Do we have questions from the members? Speaker Marsh.
Madam Leader, has TASER, have you talked with them? Are they okay with this? Or they bless it, or?
The sponsor in the Senate did, and to my understanding, they're okay with it.
Okay.
But I didn't personally, but I know that the sponsor on the other side did.
All right, thank you very much.
Mhm.
Any further questions from the members? Seeing none, we are voting on House Bill 1593. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Bill goes to state full.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Speaker. I will make sure I do that before we get to full committee. Yes, sir. Thank you, members.
Thank you. Item number 1 on our special calendar, House Bill 954, will be held on the clerk's desk without objection. So ordered. Any further questions or announcements from any of the members? Seeing none, do we have an objection? Do we have a motion to adjourn? The Public Service Subcommittee is closed, subject to the call of the chair.
It is a crazy one. Go out with a